Welcome back, everyone, to this next video in this third person series. A couple things have happened, and I just wanted to show them real quick before I move on. At the end of the last video, I had a couple of issues. I had two issues around respawning, and the first one, which I thought was going to be the one that would be much harder to solve, was on the client respawning. It looked like everything wasn't being cleaned up properly, and it would like start to respawn, but it wouldn't actually respawn the character. And that is now fixed. So when I click the respawn button, my character respawns properly on both the client and the server. And I did want to show how that was fixed, because it was a couple of methods that I've actually never seen before. And I found them in I think it was a very old sample app that's on the Epic store. Actually, it was just one method, and it's this one right here. I don't know exactly what this method does, but it's obviously doing some cleanup just from the name of it, and I have it on the server and the client. And then there's also this turn off method that I saw, and I don't know that this one's actually doing anything. I suspect it's just this one, but I put both of these here. Like I said, I found them in some sort of sample that was on the Epic website, and I put them both there, and that fixed that problem right away. So I kind of had a hunch. You could just sort of tell just from looking at it that it was something wasn't being cleaned up properly, and so I guess this method is taking care of whatever wasn't getting cleaned up properly. The second problem, which I thought was going to be much easier to solve, was that the when I click the respawn button, the dialog box does not go away. Let me see if we can see that. And so when I click respawn, it respawns me, but the window does not disappear. I thought that would actually be much easier to fix of the two problems, but this has actually turned out to be a bit of a nightmare. And I can show you what I've done there. Actually, let me take a look at the player controller. Right. I've tried various different things here, and in this closed respawn window, I've also tried a few things. I think the latest thing is I'm instead of trying to destroy the widget, I'm just trying to hide it by disabling it and setting its visibility. This is something I also saw on a sample somewhere on the Epic website, but this doesn't seem to be working at all. And I actually wanted to try one thing real quick before I move on. I even posted a message about this one to the Epic discussion boards to see if I could see if anyone had any idea on it, and so far nobody has. There is one thing I wanted to do though, just to make sure it's not that I'm like losing a reference or something. I actually want to close the window, try to close the window before I respawn, because my only thought was maybe I'm somehow something's getting lost when I respawn, and maybe that window is getting orphaned somehow. Anyway, just by reordering that, we can see if that fixes that problem. So I'm going to give that a compile real quick and check it. And the main thing I actually want to work on today, whether I get this fixed or not, is I want to add a clock to the world. And I don't mean like a physics clock. No matter what I do, I want to have a clock that I can speed up and slow down. But I don't want that to impact the actual physics at all, right? So if I slow down the clock, I still want bullets to fly at their normal speed. I don't want to do any, at least right now, I don't want to do any like slow mo, any of that weird stuff. I just want a clock and calendar. So I want to know, I want my world to have the concept of a time and a day. So, and I'm going to do that a little differently than I've seen it done in other places, just because I want to be able to, like I said, I want the concept of the date as well. I want to be able to, if I want to, and this is obviously not going to happen anytime soon, but if I want to put the concept of seasons into the game, I want to know, what month it is so that I can implement seasons. So let's see what happens. Yeah, it didn't fix it. So it's not that I'm losing the reference to the window. So I'm gonna ignore that for now, and I'll keep researching it. Outside of these videos, trying to figure it out. But I don't want to waste any more time on these videos trying to debug that. Although I haven't really shown the way I debug things yet, but I don't want to get into that now. That just it takes forever because I have to constantly restart the the editor. So anyway, I want to have the concept of a clock, and the best place for that, I think, based on what I'm reading about these core game framework classes, is probably the game state. And so I'm gonna put fdate time is the Unreal date time class. So I'm gonna put the I'm going to go ahead and make it a U property, even though I'm not sure it really needs to be one, but I'm going to put one there anyway. Oops. And I'm going to override the tick. Okay, and I am going to put another U property on here, and this one I want to be able to set in the blueprint, so this is going to be time multiplier. So when it ticks, you know what, for now I'll just say so we have this F time span. This is what I'm probably going to have to use. So if I get a time span equal to the amount of time that's elapsed, and then what's the method here? Actually, maybe I don't need a method, maybe it's just, they have the plus operator overloaded. Do they? Looks like they do, actually. So what this is doing is just it's just taking the amount of time that's elapsed during the tick, and it's adding it to the current date time that I've got. So I'm actually going to need a constructor, or actually I could probably just initialize this here. Yeah, that'll probably work. So every tick, we're going to take the amount of time that's elapsed and add it to the current date time. So that's really not doing anything, right? It's just making a normal clock. But really, I want to multiply this by the time multiplier. And so now if I set the time multiplier to 2, it's actually going to double the amount of time is going to elapse on my clock every tick. And then in my game state, I need a public oops. Okay, so now I have a public getter method to get that date time. So let me go to my HUD. And actually, you know what? Let me pull up the class first. Go ahead and update that. So in my HUD widget, I'm going to add we're going to call this uText block. And we'll call this clock text or date time text. Okay. So now this text blocks will be required in my widget in order to compile it in my blueprint widget. So now I'm gonna have a, let's see, we're gonna make a public method, whoops, set date time. And we'll make an implementation of that. And datetime.toString for now. And we need to include, there we go. Oh, doesn't like that, cannot convert. Yes, this needs to be string. No, wait. Set text. F text. Can I do? Oh wow. Well, that'd be very cool. Let's. Interesting. Let's see what long looks like. Long date time? No. Long. Okay. We'll see what that looks like. Okay. So in our HUD now. Actually, let's do okay, so we're going to grab the game state, and I'll probably cache this later, but for now I'm just going to grab it here. And we're going to grab that date time off of that game state object and set the HUD, and that should take care of that. Let me give that a compile. Okay, so with that compiled, I'm going to pull up my player HUD widget, and this will now need the new text block that we've added. So I called it datetime text. So I need to create a new text and rename it to datetime text. Whoops. Name is already in use. Okay, let me just take care of a couple things real quick. I'm gonna give it some default text just so I can see it, and I'm going to set it to size to content, and maybe make it, I don't know, yellow. And I need to understand why it's telling me why it won't let me rename it. Health progress bar. Health progress address bar. Datetime text. Let me try. Okay. Renaming it seems like it worked. I just came in here and renamed it here. Datetime text block. And now lines up with the code. I'm not sure why I didn't like it before, but seems to compile now. Okay. Okay, so now theoretically, so this clock, I haven't done anything to make it. I think on all three clients it's going to be slightly different, which I don't necessarily think really matters right now. Okay, well, it's got the date on there. That's very cool. Now I just need to figure out the format to get the correct format to get the time on as well. Actually, what I really want, I don't really want the year. I'd rather just say February 11th and then have the time. So I'm going to probably have to look on the docs, the Unreal docs, to see what formatting options there are for me there. So I am going to do that, but one thing I want to point out here is, actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and see if I can look that up. Okay, I think I looked that up real quick. Interesting. Let's see what that looks like. Let me see what that does. No, I'm not getting the time. Ah. Duh. Okay, that compiled. Okay, there we go. I don't think I told the game state to tick. I need a constructor. Oh, good grief, I can never remember. There we go. There. Time multiplier default to 1. Give that a shot. Okay. Still not ticking. Tell you what, I'm gonna, just to make sure it's actually ticking, I'm gonna launch this in debug mode. Okay, so now I've got the editor launched in debug mode. I'm going to start it up. Let everything load. And we can see that it's not, you know what, for now I don't care about the multiplayer. Let me just back this down to 1 to make it a little easier. And you can see that the time is not incrementing. So I'm going to set a breakpoint right here. And it just got hit. So we've got 0.3 seconds. We're multiplying by 1. And it's updated the ticks. Updated it again. So it seems like that's working. So now I'm going to look at the HUD. And we're getting the game state properly. Let's look at the widget. $829.06. $829.06. Hmm. 14278. 18278. So I can see the ticks are changing on this date time. Yeah, the ticks change every time it sets, but it's not actually... Yeah. Okay. Should give me some better debug info there. Okay, let me kill this breakpoint before it launches. Okay, now let everything load here. $36.06. That's interesting. I can see the ticks changing every frame. But the string does not change. Every single frame, the ticks change. Interesting. Okay, how about back in game state? Let me clear these breakpoints out and restart the launcher again. So this is why I don't typically I did want everyone to see this, how I debug, but I don't it's not particularly exciting to watch, so I'll probably pause the video here in a minute and just figure this out. Okay, here comes the editor. Start this up. And then I'm going to set my breakpoint back in game state. And let's see what we got here. Yikes, writer taking a minute to load here. Whoa. What? What in the... What in the world? me just kill this, and I'm not gonna show all of this debugging because, like I said, it's incredibly boring. So I'll just pause the video, and once I got it figured out, I'll start it back up. Actually, so I was in the middle of debugging this, and I think I just realized what the actual problem is. So, okay, I just launched this. Let me actually kill this. I'm actually 100% certain I know what the problem is. I think I can get rid of all this debug. I'm so confident I'm gonna get rid of all the debugging code. Okay, so I think the problem is right here, because this is actually the seconds that has elapsed, and I'm doing from milliseconds, which is not correct. I want from seconds. Now, if I launch this, we'll see what happens. Okay. Now the editor's launched. And there we go. Now the clock is actually counting. Okay, perfect. So the code was actually working the whole time. It's just that the amount that it was incrementing it by every frame was so small, because I had done from milliseconds, that it would have taken us forever to actually see anything happen. Okay, so now let me take a look at my game state class, my blueprint, and I should have a multiplier in here, and I do, so I'm going to multiply it by 5. Let's see what happens now. There we go. Look at that. Excellent. So let me actually multiply by 20. Excellent. Okay. So that's obviously working. So I want to try to do one more thing, and this is going to be interesting. So I want to do a day-night cycle as that clock moves. And the way we could do this is to make a class that inherits from actor and add a skylight and a directional light to it, and do a bunch of calculations to rotate the lights and update the brightness and update the horizon and all sorts of things, right? I could make an actor to do that. But the thing is, there's already an actor that does that. Let me launch the editor here, and we'll take a look at it. Okay. So there's a plugin. See if I can recall the name of it here. Sun Position Calculator. So if you enable this plugin, and in your content browser, you can just look at all, or even under engine, and let's look for BP_sun. No, I can never remember the second while I find this. Okay, I needed to come over here to settings and do show plugin content. So now that I've done that, I search for sun, and I think the one that I want here is Sun Sky. Let me take a look. Sun Sky, yeah, I think this is it. So if I come into my lighting folder in my level here and get rid of the directional light and the skylight, get rid of both of those, and come over to content browser again and find Sun Sky and drag it in. Give it a second to adjust that. Put it up in my lighting folder, and now I have a Sun Sky actor, and I can month, day, time, solar time. Yeah, we can play with this solar time, and you can see there's nighttime, sunrise, sunset, back to nighttime. So this solar time variable here, you just update it and it sets the the sun to the correct position. It'll actually do it based on latitude and longitude too. I don't really care about that, and time zone, all that jazz. And we can set the month and the day, and basically everything that we have on our game state is here on this thing as well. So what I'm going to do actually is duplicate this, and I'm going to call it BP underscore Aspen underscore Sun Sky, and I'm going to create a folder in my app called actors, and this will just be for generic actors, and I'm going to drag BP underscore Aspen underscore Sun Sky. I'm going to move it into that folder, and I'm going to open this up, and in the event tick, I'm going to try this. This is the first time I'm going to attempt this, so we'll get the game state, cast it to our game state, and then out of this I want to grab and it's not finding it. Oh, I probably didn't mark it properly. Did mark it as a U property, but I think I'm gonna need blueprint read write. So let me compile that. Okay. So that is done compiling. Now let me see if I can get the there we go. Now I can get the current date time, and what I want to do, there's all these variables down here for date and time. Let me just see, get hour. That's going to be a float, and let's see if that has what I want actually, because I'm not really 100% sure. Get hour, set solar time. Hang on, where does this go? Okay. Okay, save that, compile, and it doesn't like it. Whoops. I am not the most blueprint savvy. There we go. And let me really crank that time multiplier. It's still not fast enough. I'm not going to be able to see it. Whoops. Got the wrong sun sky. There we go. It's working, but it's kind of stepping. Like when the hour switches, let's see, when it hits 2, yep, there it goes. So it's not smoothly the glowing part of the mannequin is lighting up the ground, so it's not smoothly stepping. I wonder if this check is not actually working properly, because, and see, I don't really need this because I want it to update every tick, really. I see what it's doing here, right? It's hashing, it's basically caching the value and checking it to see if it's updated. And I'm wondering if this is only true when the actual hour changes. I suspect that's the case. So I think probably, I wish there was a way to like comment out blueprints. Anyway, there probably is, and I just don't know it. Let me just kill that whole thing. No. So close. Let me go ahead and set the rest of this stuff too. I'm gonna have to do all kinds of work here. This is why I hate blueprints. Hour, year, day, month. Year, day, month. I wonder if this thing is only set to tick. Okay. Let's turn that off. Okay. I'm guessing there's something in here. That I'm gonna have to update. Let's see, solar time. I don't see anything that looks like it's would cause that behavior, but there's obviously there must be something. Interesting. Well, I don't think it necessarily matters because I'm not going to obviously run the time this fast anyway, but would like to get rid of that weird sort of stepping behavior. I have no no idea how to debug. Yeah, that's just not going to work. I'll have to research how to debug that. But what I'd convert an integer to a float. Oh, okay. That's going to be the problem, I would guess. If I look at time, solar time here is a float, but here it's an integer, and so it's not right. Okay, maybe I want the hour, but I want it as a float. Okay, I'll have to figure that out. Gotta figure it out. So, that's very awesome. Okay, working perfect. So what I did, since I needed the total hours as a float, the way to get that is just to get time of day and then get total hours off of that. So that's how I updated that. And let me just pretty that up real quick and save it, and that is good to go. So take a look at that one more time. Now you can see the shadows sort of smoothly moving. So we'll see how that works out in the long run. It's a blueprint and it's happening on tick, but still, I can't imagine that little bit of logic there is going to be a big performance problem. But if it is, then eventually I'll have to convert this. I mean, essentially what it would be is just coming in here and in this, basically converting this method into C++, which isn't a ton of work. A little bit of, really this is all just getting variables and then a little bit of math right here to make some rotators. That's it. So if I need to change it to C++ later, I certainly can, but for now, and the nice thing about this one is we get this cool little widget here that has the north, south, east, west on it. So so there you go. A day-night cycle with a working game clock that we can speed up and slow down as necessary. Now, like I said, if I change this to if I set this to multiplayer and we run, we're gonna see that basically each client is doing its own, its own calculation here. So they're not gonna be matching, and you can see because I've got the time compression turned up so high, they're actually off by quite a bit, like several minutes from each other. I don't know if I even care about that. I guess I do a little bit because the transition there, although I'll obviously never have the multiplier cranked up this high for real. It's just so we can see the effect. So I don't know that it matters. I can, if it does start to matter in the future, I can probably change this code so that it only executes on the server, and I can replicate this current date time variable to every client, or do something like that so that they match a little bit closer. But like I said, I'm just not even, I just don't think it matters. It's actually kind of cool that you can see the glow from the mannequin. Anyway, that's it. Working day-night cycle with a clock. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do next. Obviously, I got to continue researching that problem with the respawn menu not working. That's obviously a big problem. And actually, here's something that I know isn't going to be right. If I fire the wedge, you can see the particle system, the muzzle flash, but it doesn't cause any environmental lighting. Like you can't see the flash on the ground like you can the material on the mannequin. So anyway, that's kind of annoying. I may fix that, but um, I know that I'll keep researching. Obviously, the respawn menu not working, and try to get that fixed. I obviously I have the very beginnings of a weapon system, and I don't want to take that any further at the moment because I know that I want to bring in the gameplay ability system, and I'm still researching that. There's a ton of stuff there I still don't understand yet, so I'm not quite ready to bring in the gameplay ability system. So I may find these other things to, um, like this day-night cycle, these mechanics that I can work on. Um, I may bring in vehicles, but if I do, I feel like I probably want to bring in the city sample vehicles, and those are a lot more complex than um, the vehicles that I'm used to bringing in. So, typically you bring in a vehicle, you set up the wheels and the engine and the transmission and everything, and you're good to go. But the those city sample vehicles, they have damage. You can damage them, and they're set up with control rigs, and they have separate static meshes for the brakes and the some of the other parts of the car. Um, so I need to do a little bit more research on those as well before I bring in any vehicles. Um, Maybe I'll start blocking out some city blocks here, and maybe bring in the mass, the crowd AI. I just need to think about it a little bit. Also, I could start bringing in metahumans if I'm going to use metahumans and as the actual character models. I could start bringing those in. They work a little bit differently, um, in that they have separate meshes for the different pieces of the character, which might allow me to create a character creator. I can start thinking about doing that. I can think about hooking up with a back end. There's a tons of things I could do. I'll think about it a little bit, and hopefully in the next week or so I'll come back with another video. Anyway, or if I figure out the respawn menu issue, I'll make a short video on that as well. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.